How about them Cowboys? The Cowboys had a statement win on Sunday Night Football, game of the week. America watched as they dominated the Eagles. And you know, when the Cowboys played the Eagles in Philadelphia earlier this year, it was a back and forth game. It was close, one score. Cannot say the same about this one. From the start, the Cowboys were just the better team. Better offensively, better defensively. Lane Johnson, victimized by Micah Parsons. The Eagles cornerback, victimized by every receiver. Jake Ferguson even did a little bit of cooking. And Dak Prescott looked like the MVP. There's not much more you need to say about this Cowboys team. They are legit. They are now the second best team in the NFC. I feel comfortable saying that. This puts them above the Eagles, at least for now. And they may have home field advantage come playoff time if they win out and someone knocks off the 49ers or gets another win over the Eagles. The Cowboys are rolling. America's team is on top. And the Eagles, I'm not going to call them frauds because frauds is an overused word. They could still conceivably win the Super Bowl. They're a top 3 team in their conference, but this does take them down a peg. I think the Cowboys made it at a massive win here, which will be talked about for weeks, which will carry them into the postseason and will set them up for an NFC Championship game, if not Super Bowl run.
It's exactly what we said was going to happen in the predictions.
Real ball knowers, by the way. We must preface that point. We know ball and you don't.
It's exactly what should have happened the first time the Cowboys played the Eagles. The Eagles, at this point, if their offense is not firing, their defense is flat out bad. Their pass defense is pathetic. They cannot guard anyone. And then when they're playing the Cowboys this second time in the season, with Jake Ferguson emerging as a very good NFL tight end, Brandon Cooks finding his way in this offense, Mike McCarthy, he's cooking things up. He has gotten better with his play calling every single week. Dak has gotten better every single week. So the Cowboys, they're a more complete team because they have a defense. And the Eagles, their offense is struggling. Now, to speak to what Isaiah said, yes, they're still a very good team. If someone's going to call them a fraud, that is just not true. If they get things going on the offensive side of the ball, that's all it takes for them to beat the Cowboys, to beat the 49ers. But if they're floundering, if they start the game slow, it opens up the door for any good passing attack, any solid offense to beat them. There's a chance that they lose in the first round of the playoffs with how their offense is playing. We know the defense is bad. We know their secondary can't get it done. But if they play a passing attack that gets hot in the first round of the playoffs, it's going to be a high-scoring game, and it's going to give them trouble.
I really don't see the first-round opponent which could actually do that. They're like, maybe the Seahawks, but their passing attack has not been well-developed. Now Drew Lock's in there. Like, they're going to make it past the first round just because of how bad the rest of the NFC is. They're not drawing the Cowboys or the 49ers in the first round. Joshua Dobbs, any quarterback the Vikings try out there is not going to cut. One of the NFC South teams is going to get them. Now, come on, man. Marcus Mariota's successor, Desmond Ritter's going to barbecue him in the first round. What are we doing here? They're in trouble, though, to a certain extent, because I've lost some confidence. I already said to it, Cowboys top of the NFC now, or at least staying on top. If they keep losing these games, they now get in the chance of having to play a really good wildcard team. I don't think they'll lose, but I think they can get banged up. They'll have to dedicate all their efforts to winning that first match, and then a top seed like the Cowboys or the 49ers just victimizes them on the road in the second round. The Eagles have not been good in the playoffs on the road recently. Their big advantage is playing at home and for all those Philly fanatics. If they have to go on the road, they're cooked.
I said it already. I don't need to say it a million times. James Bradbury, Darius Slay.
We'll say the D-line's still pretty good.
Well, they've even been getting gouged on the run the past few games. The Chiefs, Pacheco averaged 6 yards a carry.
Yeah, but I'm willing to attribute that more to linebackers than anything else, really. It's also the 49ers and Cowboys offensive lines. And the Chiefs offensive line.
That does help.
If you're going to get gouged, it's going to be by Isaiah Pacheco running downhill at 800 miles an hour. But we don't need to beat this point over the head over and over again. Eagles on bottom, Cowboys on top. Not frauds, but looking a little fraudulent.
It will be nice to see. Right now, if we had to predict who's going to beat in the playoffs, I'd imagine it'd be the Cowboys and 49ers. And I really want to see that matchup happen again because we saw the 49ers cook the Cowboys last year in the playoffs. We saw them cook them earlier in the season. And now that Jake Ferguson, Mike McCarthy's play calling, Brandon Cooks has gotten more integrated in that offense. Rico Dowdle, I think that's how you pronounce Dowdle. Oh, well, I don't.
Who cares?
I shouldn't.
Why are you talking to me about pronunciation?
Yeah, that's what I was.
They can't get cooked 3 times in a row. Is that what you're getting at?
That's what I'm trying to get at.
We'll have to.
So it may be the Cowboys' year.
Someone may have left the Cowboys.
Everyone's misery.
Hey man, who said it was the Cowboys' year at the start of the season? This guy. Who is the ball knower here? Also this guy. Speaking of teams which no ball and teams which don't, the Detroit Lions got by the Chicago Bears. And Tristan last week said the Bears were sneaky okay. Not sneaky good, mind you, but sneaky okay.
They may need to upgrade it this week.
They're sneaky all right now.
Oh.
So, beat the Lions. Goff did not look good. The Lions defense did not look good. A lot is being made of a certain Aiden Hutchinson stunt, which may not have been a stunt. If you don't know what the play call is on the defense, you can't tell if Hutch was the one who screwed that up or not. But it is easy to say that Lions defensive line, with the exception of him, has been woeful this year. Their secondary, all right at points. Very good at blitzing, but can't cover most people. Certainly can't cover DJ Moore. And now they have found themselves firmly out of the race for the 1 seed. They are not going to have home field advantage in the playoffs. And in large part due to the weakness of the NFC North, they will still have home field advantage for the first round. But they're going to have to play a good wildcard team probably. They might have to go up against the NFC South still in play. They're not going up against the NFC East wildcard. But they're going to have to go up against the Vikings, maybe the Seahawks in the first round. And that might be a competitive game for them. They're not as good as we thought they were going to be going into the season. I'm a little bit disappointed. MCDC has not gotten them right. And that offense, not where it needs to be.
Well, you called yourself a ball knower. I've been saying this for weeks that the Lions aren't quite as good as everyone wants them to be. Yes, they are a very good team. Yes, they have 9 wins this season. But their offense and the defense, when they go on the road, are not that great. And the defense is not good. Yeah, they got Aiden Hutchinson, who occasionally does something, occasionally also does something very stupid. He's very hot and cold.
He is one of the best run defenders in the NFL. Pump your brakes, man.
And with that being said, they played the Bears in Soldier Field. Justin Fields is much better than when they had Tyson Bagent out there. He's getting the ball out to DJ Moore. He's running the ball down the field at a high level, and he's trying to save his career. Career with the Bears, I should say, specifically. Or maybe even play himself into getting traded for a starting job next year when the Bears have the first-round pick from the Panthers.
Shout out to the Pants,
who are a complete disaster.
We will get to them a little bit later.
Bears, are they a playoff team now?
Stop it. Stop it. No.
We just upgraded them to sneaky all right.
Sneaky.
Next week, maybe they get another win. They're sitting at 6-8, and we might have to upgrade them to sneaky good because their run defense is great. Their defense overall has gotten better every single week. Justin Fields, to his credit, since coming back from injury, has gotten better every single week. Of course, there are times where you see his slow processing and he holds the ball too long.
Last year, man. We did this last year. He had a few good games in November, early December. He said, oh, wait a second. He might be the guy. Hold on. Oh. Never mind. He played him into having the first overall pick. He's the guy. Come on, man. You can't fool me again. They can be sneaky all right all they want. They will not sniff the playoffs this year. I will burn this leather jacket if the Chicago Bears make it to the postseason in any way other than buying tickets. Let's pump the brakes on that. No more Justin Fields talk, please.
Now I just want to see him make the
Scored
playoffs.
12 points. Couldn't score a touchdown last week against the Vikings. But I'm, oh, well, they're actually...
You know what's your doomsday scenario?
What's my doomsday scenario?
Somehow the Bears and Vikings match up in the first round of the playoffs.
Tristan, that's actually mathematically impossible, I think.
I don't care if it's mathematically impossible. It would still be your doomsday. You had to lose to the Giants last year in the playoffs, then lose to the Bears this year in the playoffs.
I am pretty confident, unless we have another string of injuries at the quarterback position, Joshua Dobbs will not be allowed to go up there and put up 9 points a second time. Speaking of the Josh Dobbs Minnesota Viking experience, I love him. I really do. One of my favorite stories in the NFL, but it's an indisputable fact that he is a nerd. He is too smart to be playing quarterback. People like to rant and rave about how Fitzpatrick went to Harvard. Joshua Dobbs laps the field with that Poindexter with a stupid beard. Astrophysicist, man. Genius. 1% of the 1% intellect. Which is why he's overthinking all his throws and can't get the ball out on time. And it makes sense. Joshua Dobbs should not be playing football. He should be doing something to better humanity. And being the Minnesota Vikings quarterback right now is not bettering humanity. Played woefully against a lackluster Raiders defense, some would say a sneaky okay Raiders defense, and ultimately got benched. After that benching, the Vikings had a breakout moment and scored their only 3 points of the game. This was a 3-0 game. Unprecedented in the modern age. The last time this happened was in a tsunami between the Pittsburgh Steelers and Miami Dolphins. This was in a dome in Vegas. There was no wind for miles, and yet these offenses couldn't move the ball. This is an unprecedentedly terrible offensive showing. And I'm not blaming Dobbs entirely for that, but he did throw a hospital pass to Jay Jettas, and he did look terrible, so it is time he be relegated to the bench and relegated to NASA. Having said that, the Vikings are 7-6. They will have a new quarterback next week. They're playing the Jake Browning Bengals, who may not even be the Jake Browning Bengals, so that injury is worse than I think it is. And I'm still optimistic. Flores, I pray to God that he does not get a head coaching gig somewhere, although God knows he earned it, and stays our defensive coordinator. Because if we get him, if we get KOC calling plays for a quarterback and can throw the ball, this is a Super Bowl team.
I have a way to fix Josh Dobbs.
Is it launching him into orbit?
It's very smart. No one has even thought about this. His best game this season, guess when it happened?
First game as a Vikings. They're saying we shouldn't teach him the playbook. Just change the playbook and don't give him a copy.
He's gotten worse ever since he learned the playbook. Every single week, he's gotten progressively worse. He was phenomenal not knowing the plays. He was solid the next week, and it just gotten worse and worse to the point where he doesn't even look like an NFL quarterback now. So what they should do is for the entire week, don't even let him go home. Don't let him study the plays. Don't let him watch any film. Don't let him prepare. Lock him in a closet. Let him meditate over what he's going to do in the game. Let him visualize the touchdown runs he's going to have and the throws he's going to make to Jordan Addison, and then the Vikings will have a functional offense.
So to be clear, your solution to Dobbs overthinking all his throws is to give him time to himself to further overthink them.
Yes.
Wrong. See, this
well,
is
then
why,
he wouldn't be overthinking. He'd be meditating and finding inner peace.
You know, that meditation, inner peace stuff sounds an awful lot like what our pal Aaron Rodgers does in the offseason. How's that working out for him right now? Mr. Oh, I can't believe I'm going to be able to come back for an Achilles. Oh, wait, I was just joking. Turns out I'm not coming back from an Achilles and just want the attention because I'm a complete effing diva. I don't want Josh Dobbs to do anything like that, man. You keep your Aaron Rodgers philosophy as far away from my Dobbs side as possible, if you would, please.
But now I thought you don't even want him to start
like
anymore.
Him. I don't want to start, but I like him. I don't need Aaron Rodgers' influence in his life. Josh Dobbs is a good person. He does not need that ayahuasca. Ooh, he doesn't need it, man. He doesn't need it. But speaking of the New York Jets, Zach Wilson,
300 yards.
Kind of cooking. But more importantly, I mean, I've been an advocate for Zach Wilson for a long time. I've said he stinks, but I've said that stinking comes in large part to having one of the worst offensive lines in football, having a playbook not designed for him. And he kind of got better as the year went on, then he got worse, and then he got benched, and now he's better again. It's hard to say why that is. Maybe he's better in the rain. Maybe he's better when there are no expectations. Maybe he's better fresh off of benching, so they should get Tim Boyle back in the team to start next week for him and then put Zach Wilson in the lineup week after that. The quarterback, though, which I want to talk about, is CJ Stroud. Because Nico Collins didn't play that much, Tank Dell didn't play that much, and CJ Stroud had the worst game of his career since his time at Michigan. Yeah, I think even the Michigan games are better in terms of statistical production. Played horribly against the Jets defense. And this is not to take away from CJ Stroud. He is still going to be a fine quarterback, maybe even a great quarterback. Who knows? But I think it is very appropriate that we take CJ Stroud and we look at him. We look at what happens to a young quarterback who is subject to a lot of pressure, thanks in large part to that Jets defense as opposed to his offensive line being terrible, who no longer has good weapons to throw to. And we see he plays terrible. That is not something which is uncommon. I am not really going to fault CJ Stroud for that. I think it would be crazy to fault him for that, right?
So you're trying to use CJ Stroud to prop up Zach Wilson propaganda as a reason
Incorrect.
What narrative are you pushing?
We're talking about Bryce Young right now. Because Bryce Young has suffered from an abundance of pressure in his face all year. Bryce Young has a terrible coach calling plays who has already been fired. Bryce Young doesn't have weapons. Bryce Young has been in this position CJ Stroud was in yesterday against the New York Jets all year. All year he has been in that position and has just been getting killed mercilessly by the media. And I don't want CJ Stroud to get killed by the media after this one. He shouldn't be. But I'm just using this as an example. Why are we still just burying Bryce Young, who is a less physically gifted quarterback, but yet all his highlights seem to be him scrambling 20 yards downfield because, shocker, no one's getting open. You are making a 5'9" quarterback who isn't Kyler Murray be a dual threat weapon. That is how bad this Panthers team is. I'm just saying.
Do you think I disagree with you?
I'm just pointing it out to the viewers. No, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking on the camera. You see the camera right there? That's what I'm talking to.
Gotcha.
If you are going to judge Bryce Young with this harsh bar, but give an excuse to Zach Wilson this week because, bad circumstances, you're kind of a hypocrite. You're kind of like casual. You're kind of stupid. Give Bryce Young a break. Let the Panthers rebuild themselves in the offseason, now the first overall pick though, and see what happens. Don't call this dude a bust because he is not great 12 games into his career, 13 games into his career in a terrible system.
Well, in defense of just CJ Stroud's performance in a vacuum, when Brevin Jordan's your number one receiving threat, Nico Collins leaves the game. You're missing your three best players to start the season. Dalton Schultz, Tank Dell, we know he's not coming back this season. Nico Collins, and then Robert Woods and Brevin Jordan. They're your best receiving threats in a downpour. It's going to be hard to move the ball regardless of any other, especially in the rain. I mean, come on now. And then to speak to the Panthers and the whole Bryce Young thing, I don't think he's a bust. I think it's hard to call him a bust given the scenario that he was placed in with the receivers that he has, with the horrible offensive line that he has, with the ownership he has, with the coach that he has. Coach that he had and coach situation that he has now. I don't know if he'll ever work out because the Panthers are just going to break him. I mean, his footwork has gone completely out of the window. He's missing throws that we saw him make with ease in college, and it's going to take some time if we ever see that even get to happen. I don't know, unfortunately, because of where he got drafted to, we may never get to see the best Bryce Young possible. Because what Brock Purdy is right now is what we want Bryce Young to be.
To be fair, Brock Purdy is what he is now because he's got three of the best yak guys in football on his team. So, I don't know. The Brock Purdy comparison, even though he's leading the MVP betting odds right now, feels flawed.
Brock Purdy facilitating an elite offense, getting the ball out quickly, maneuvers behind the line of scrimmage with his elite short area quickness, which for some reason
short area quickness.
For some reason you think I got from someone else.
Elite short area quickness.
Very quick behind the line of scrimmage, good at scrambling,
in short areas,
improvising, throwing the ball on the run. That is what people want Bryce Young to be. And Bryce Young isn't in a situation where he can do that. And transitioning smoothly to this Brock MVP talk.
My Brock Purdy shouldn't win MVP narrative may have outwardly taken a hit. Some people may say, he put up ridiculous numbers. He beat up on the Seahawks. This game further shows why I am right. Why Brock Purdy should not win MVP. Because if you watch the game, you know that every single player, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, McCaffrey, was working in combination to facilitate Brock Purdy's excellence. George Kittle got ball 20 yards downfield and becomes a 44-yard touchdown. Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel running open deep, doing the Lord's work after the catch. Yak machines. You put any other receivers out there, you give him the Tank Dell treatment where Tank Dell's number one. So you give him Bryce Young's weapons. Brock Purdy is throwing for a crispy 122 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 picks. This was such a clear example of how Brock Purdy benefits from the down route. Is he a good quarterback? He's in the NFL. Of course he is. He might even be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. But he should not be rewarded with an MVP because he rolled over a cupcake defense because all his guys either got wide open or did something once they got the ball. This is a great example of why Brock shouldn't win MVP. I will hear nothing more of Brock Purdy MVP talks in the face of the Dak Prescott performance we saw on Sunday Night Football and this game. Give it to Ayuk if you're going to give it to anyone, but don't give it to Brock.
Well, Brock Purdy is very good, and something that gets lost in this Brock Purdy discussion is that there's people out there who don't like him because the 49ers were saved from their poor Trey Lance decision by having Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy waltz into their organization and be a top 15, top 10 quarterback in the NFL. There are people out there that don't want to acknowledge that being a reality, and that's the case. And then when it comes to the MVP discussion now, it seems the awards gotten completely mixed up and completely conflated. I mean, if it's most valuable player, then I personally agree with Isaiah. I don't think that should be Brock Purdy. There are way too many good players on that 49ers team to say he's the most valuable. Now, he plays the most valuable position, but when you have Christian McCaffrey out there taking the first play all the way down the field and doing what he's been doing this season, having one of the best running back seasons ever, and then you have 2 elite receivers, and you have elite tight end, and then you have the best coverage linebacker linebacker in recent memory on your team. You have the defensive player of the year from, was it last year, right?
I don't know. It was recent, though.
Nick Bosa on your team, and you have all that talent all around you. At this point, it seems like the award's just going to the quarterback who plays on the team with the best record. So, in my opinion, I actually think it should be Dak Prescott, as much as that hurts me to say and anyone who's not a Cowboys fan to say, because he has been elevating that Cowboys talent this year. Brandon Cooks, there's a reason he got traded to the Cowboys. Still a solid player, but he's been traded, 4 or 5 times now? He was a guy that was on the market for a reason, and there was someone who didn't want to outbid the Cowboys. Jake Ferguson didn't do much early in the year, and the Cowboys with Dak Prescott in combination with Mike McCarthy, he's been elevating that team all season long. They've been getting just better every single week since that 49ers loss, and I think right now, it makes no sense to me why Dak isn't leading the discussion.
Well, it's because America's team, despite all the media hype and attention, has a tremendous amount of haters out there in the wide world of sports. Also, if you're going to hope for one Cowboys player to win the MVP award, it should be Dak Prescott. Objectively, he is the nicest guy in that organization. Good character, donates to good causes.
He did have a DUI in college.
Oh, boo-hoo. God forbid. God forbid a man have 17 beers and get behind the wheel of his Ford F-150. It's one of the most American things you can do, man. It's why he is on America's team. Driving drunk is not that big of an issue to me unless you crash into something. It's the drunk crashers who give the drunk drivers a bad name. That has been our podcast. Let us know what you think down in the comments below. If you're still here, be sure to like, follow, share, subscribe. We appreciate your viewership, and you folks have a wonderful Christmas/holiday season. Use code Thicc on Underdog.